Hey, good morning, Eastern Oregon, and welcome to this May 1st version of AM Live on EOA, your connection to Eastern Oregon. We're glad that you are here. If you want to find our content, if you go to EOA.network, that takes you to a link tree where you can find a link to all of our content, our Facebook, Roku, YouTube, website, Instagram, and then also the podcast networks. So be sure to check that out. Here in just a little bit, we are going to have a good friend of mine and Kyle's, Koza, is going to be with us to shoot the breeze with us for a bit. May 1st. This is May Day.
Breeze? That's a new word for you. This is May 1st already.
Yes. So my mom who has passed, she loved to get flowers on May Day. Yeah, May 1st. In fact, yeah. It was,
April showers bring May flowers.
well, I didn't even know of what May Day was until I was dating a girl when I was in high school, and Mom said, "Well, are you going to get her flowers for tomorrow?" I'm like, "Is that a thing, Mom?" "Absolutely. Don't forget your mom while you're doing it."
It is?
Yeah.
What is May Day?
I don't know. It's the first day of May. Yeah.
There's no other significance?
I don't
to
know.
it?
You're like the internet.
I mean,
Guru.
you,
You're the search.
You acted
guru.
like you knew what it like you knew.
No,
what
I know the
May
title.
Day was.
Yeah, maybe I don't know. Maybe
It's
it's like
International Workers' Day. It's a holiday observed on May 1st each year, dedicated to recognizing the contributions and struggles of workers worldwide.
that's what they call
It's
May Day.
often marked by protests, marches, and rallies, which there's a huge protest in Portland today.
Right. Well. So, yeah, I'm not sure what that has to do with flowers.
I'm not sure what that has to do with women. Don't men work too? I think she was just milking you out for flowers, man.
Well, yeah,
Hey.
it worked.
Yeah.
Whatever it was. Yeah. So yeah. So happy May Day, folks.
BC, I think it's Workers' Day. It's pizza. Maybe I can milk you out for some pizza on Workers' Day. If it's that easy.
Yeah.
For crying out
Hey,
loud.
we had a taco pizza last night from Papa Murphy's.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
I
yeah.
like taco pizza.
Yeah. No.
So back in the days, it used to be called Klondike's here in town. Right there where Final Cut is,
right.
pizza place. When it was Klondike's, they had the best taco
okay.
pizza
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
history.
Okay.
Yeah, their taco pizza was...
Have
Get
you
a
ever
little-
made? I've never made it. I've made pizza before a lot, but I've never made a taco pizza.
Never made a taco pizza. No.
Yeah.
No, but it's good. I mean, I like taco pizza.
So do you make tacos yourself?
Yeah.
So when you season the ground beef, how do you season it?
I just...
I just use the packets, but I like a lot of it.
I like very little light.
Do you?
Because my mom doesn't like it. Yeah, my mom don't like any spice at all in her food.
Really?
So I've just always used just a little teeny bit. But I would rather have like chopped up like roast or steak in a taco than ground beef.
Really?
But the good thing is, you can take like a big old chub of ground beef, cook it off, throw it in season it, throw it in a Ziploc bag in the fridge, and then just reheat that for like the whole week for tacos and nachos and burritos and.
No, I do that. I've done that in the past. Haven't done it recently, but we use slice beef, and then you cook it up, and then you can, in a moment, you can season it for Philly steak cheese sandwiches, or you could season it for a variety of things.
Yeah,
my name is, it's kind of blank right now. But anyhow, yeah. All right. Well, hey, want to do sports?
Let's do it.
All right.
AM Sports Report brought to you by Northwest Furniture and Mattress. Find the perfect fit. FlexSteel offers endless customization so your furniture is as unique as your home. Get started today at Northwest Furniture and Mattress. Big Red Rocking Chair on Elm, off Adams in LeGrand. Got a quick one today. We talked about everything that happened over the weekend. There hasn't been any games since then. EOU softball heads to Klamath Falls for the CCC tournament. They leave this morning. Actually, they're probably on the bus right now. They're scheduled to open the tournament with Carroll tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. They are the number 3 seed with the winner advancing to play Southern later on in the day, who we just had here this weekend. Took 2 out of 3 of them at home in conference. It's this tournament, like I said, this tournament, I mean, it's a good time for them to kind of shine, but their ticket is punched to the national tournament, so it doesn't really matter what they do. I want them to win it, obviously, but at the same time, they've done enough to earn a trip to the national tournament. Interview with Emily Berry, Maddie Durham, and Coach Christian is up now on EOA Live Sports. EOU Track and Field is in Corvallis at the OSU High Performance on Saturday. LHS baseball and softball are both in Baker tomorrow for 2 p.m. doubleheaders. I'm going. I'm pretty sure I'm going. I'm excited. It's supposed to be 80 tomorrow. I'm going to take pictures. Softball team, man, they're 19-0, undefeated, #1 in the state. Baseball teams had its struggles, but Baker's a team that they can beat for sure. A little birdie told me that one of Baker's top pitchers is out tomorrow with a shoulder injury, so that kind of, favors LeGrand. They split with Baker at home a couple weeks ago, and they really need both of these to end up securing the #2 spot in the GOL. Like I said, short one today, so that's all I got. AM Sports Report brought to you by Northwest Furniture and Mattress. They want to make you comfortable in your own home.
Good stuff. Thanks, man.
Yep.
So let's look outside and look at how pretty that is.
Yeah, I know it's teasing us for tomorrow. It's
Yep.
getting us ready.
Gorgeous, yeah. If you all don't know, that is our downtown weather cam. It runs 24/7 on our website. And in fact, I don't think it's on the website right this second. But
so if you're going to run naked downtown, don't do it right there.
Yeah, don't do it.
Because that's always
right. That camera goes down a couple weeks. Every once in a couple weeks, we've got to reboot it. So, and it initially goes to YouTube. So, I mean, if you go to the website and it's down, you can always find it on our YouTube channel. There's somebody running, exercising.
Yeah.
That's not like you and I. Right
No,
there.
I don't run. I walk a lot. I walk a lot, but I don't run.
Yeah. All right, well, show us the graphic here. So 75 today, 40 tonight. Wow, it's beautiful. And then tomorrow, totally sunny, 80 degrees.
Well, I mean, today's just
Yeah,
it's
just
nice.
as pretty,
I mean,
right?
Yeah, 75. I didn't know it was going to be that warm today.
Yeah, it's still getting cool in the evenings, which is always love that.
Look at that discrepancy though. 80, and then the next day. Look at the next day. 53.
53 and rainy.
27-degree difference in one day between the highs.
Between Saturday and Sunday.
No, Friday and Saturday.
Okay, right. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Saturday's the rainy day. Yeah, and then it's supposed to get a little bit nicer. It looks like it gets nicer.
Yeah, at the
after that.
beginning of next week for sure. It'll
Yeah.
get back up to 70. We might be on our way. We might be on the home stretch out of winter. I think we are. I don't want to jinx us.
1st
but-
of May. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Eastern Oregon.
Yeah. There
So-
might be one more snow or freeze left. You never
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Well, hey, let me. I want to show a little video to you from the Rotary LeGrand Cleanup Day. So on Saturday, with the help mostly of, our local LeGrand Rotary Club managed that and helped. But the real workforce was the EOU football team and a couple of the soccer players that joined us. And take a look at this video real quick. All right. Hey, that was a fun event. Big shout out to Les Schwab, who coordinated with us to take any tires as long as they were not on wheels. And normally, if you take a tire to Les Schwab to dispose of it, you have to pay Schwab. They waived that fee for us, and so then we coordinated with the community and people got rid of a lot of tires. So big shout out to them, and of course EOU for the EOU athletics for helping us provide the people that helped us, and Coach Camp and the coaching staff from the football team, and then our local Rotary members that show up every year and do that kind of stuff. So thank you guys. It was a lot of fun. And we coordinated, it wasn't the same event, but Main Street coordinated a community cleanup event on that same day in downtown LeGrand. You know, we're going to do that again next year. Probably it will be the Saturday after Earth Day. That's kind of the target that we shoot for. So be sure and watch for that. So cool. Turn the page, different topic. We have CHD. We showed you a video a week ago from CHD Developmental Disabilities. They're coming on as a sponsor to the morning show for the next 3 months. We're excited about that. But we recently produced 4 different interviews for them about helping and reporting abuse of, they have a particular client, but of clients of developmental
It's similar
disabilities.
to the word at risk.
Yeah.
What's that word?
Vulnerable, thank you, yes. It's a very specific, yeah. Anyhow, vulnerable adults. And so then this is a video I want to show you real quick about how to report if you see someone who you think is in need. So Christopher, we're having another conversation about CHD reporting of vulnerable adults that might be facing abuse. How do we make that report?
The best way is through the telephone system, and there is the SAFE line, which is 855-503-SAFE, and that is for people under the age of 18 or with aging or with a physical disability. And for those with an intellectual developmental disability or who are receiving mental health services, that's my desk line at 541-962-8889.
Who should report this kind of information?
So anyone that sees or suspects abuse, neglect, or financial exploitation should call. But the Oregon state laws require some occupations, such as social workers, doctors, law enforcement, anyone that pretty much works with the public.
What kind of information do I need to have available to make a report?
So any information is good information, but names, locations, contact information, those are all great, either of the suspected abuser or the victim.
Hey, thank you, Christopher.
Thank you.
Appreciate the time, and we'll be having more of these conversations.
Sounds good.
All right. Great. Be sure and watch for that. And again, this is a way, if you see someone who you think is vulnerable and maybe being mistreated, and he described the categories there, but part of that is anybody who is over the age of 65. They're kind of in a special category, and you know, recently my brother kind of went through some things financially. He had some people that were taking advantage of him. We did not have to use, he's not here local, but we did not have to use those services. But still, that was one thing that was on my mind is that for people that are over the age of 65, who you think are being taken advantage of, there are tools and avenues that you can use to help them. So we're going to take a quick break. We will be back with Z Koza here in just a minute. All right, we are back with Mrs. Z. Koza.
Hello.
How are you?
I am well, thank you.
Good. Yeah, we have multiple connections.
We do.
Yeah, and then you are also connected with Kyle from in the past.
Way
yeah.
back.
Yep.
Yeah,
yes.
I don't think the three of us have been in the same room. Maybe we have, and maybe when you came and visited Rotary.
She's been in here before.
Have you?
Yeah. Yeah, she was here a few months ago. I don't remember what for, but
I'm not sure what for either.
Yeah,
but
you
yeah.
were
Okay.
here.
Well, I'm glad we're glad that you're here.
I'm seasoned. I'm seasoned.
You are seasoned. That's right.
warmed up.
Well, we are in LeGrand Rotary together.
We are.
You and your husband Dave, and so
Yes.
we see each other all the time. Yeah, and I'm always amused. Part of the entertainment all the time is Eric Valentine and Dave, your husband. Mm-hmm. And for those of you that don't know, one of the things that we do in Rotary is that they're called brags. And so then every member has the opportunity, and you pay for a brag. So you stand up with a dollar bill or whatever, it's normally $1, and you brag about whatever. I mean, you can brag about your kid, you can brag about whatever you want to do. So, but Dave and Eric Valentine, Eric's the retired judge and photographer, and they're always ribbing each other in some way with the brags. You know, it's like, well, since Dave was cheap last week, this is Eric Valentine's, Dave was cheap and short on funds, I'm going to throw in a couple of dollars to add to his brag from, anyhow. So, anyhow, but you are, it's funny, the other day I made a joke and I said, if you guys would just give me your checking account routing numbers, we'll just have that funds go directly into Rotary. And you said, oh, wait a minute here, because that affects you also.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
So, well, I'm glad you're here. And then you and I also, so we still we stream funerals for Loveland Funeral Chapel.
We do.
And you are an officiant? Is that what that's called?
I am a funeral officiant for Lovelands.
Okay.
Done that for about 8 years.
Yeah. So,
What does that entail?
I do the services.
Like you stand up there and talk?
I do.
Oh wow.
I talk a lot with everything, Kyle.
I know. Yeah. Yeah.
well, and the thing that I've noticed, and Eric made this comment because you do weddings also.
I do weddings.
Yeah, is that you spend a lot of time getting to know the person who's deceased or the couple that's coming together, and you personalize whatever it is that you're saying.
I do.
Yeah.
I think that's something that's been missing from many that I've gone to.
Yeah.
And it helps the family. They need to remember that person, and they don't need to go to the same service that they've heard a million times before.
Yeah.
They need to have that person remembered, and every person deserves to be remembered. And so just kind of helping the family on one of the worst days of their lives.
Yeah. Well, wait. So when you do that, when you talk about getting to know them, you mean you sit down with their family and ask them
Absolutely.
questions about, hey, like I've done it. I've done it one time for one of my best friends, and I didn't have to sit down with the family because you know what I mean. Like I knew the person, and it was still really hard for me. Like I don't think I could do that on a regular basis. Like, do you like disconnect or try to connect? What's the easier way
I
to
try
do
and
it?
connect, and if it's someone I know, I say it out loud at home like 9 times. So I'm used to saying those words.
Yeah, because it's hard. Like it was really
is.
hard for me to get through that. Like even I would consider myself an okay public speaker, not like awesome or anything, but that funeral was, it was hard.
But that's something we do.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful thing to be able to be nice to people on one of the worst days of their lives.
Absolutely.
And that's what we try to do.
Yep.
No, and I have officiated funerals in the past, and yeah, there are some times that you know the person, and sometimes you don't at all. And part of your goal if you're writing a eulogy, which is what that is, then that's different than an obituary. An obituary is just the facts of their life and who are their kids and blah, blah, blah. You know, a eulogy is talking about, it's their life story.
It's a tribute.
Yeah, yeah. And so, but there are times that requires a lot of work to dig out from the family. What are some of the great memories? What are, is that enjoyable to you?
It is. I have a questionnaire that I've developed. And
why am I not surprised?
yeah, it just makes it easier. And then you ask questions. What's your favorite memory of a holiday? What's your favorite dish your mom made? I had one a while back. The funeral ended up entailing a recipe, and that was their favorite recipe was a Hostess Twinkie with vanilla pudding on top.
Interesting.
And then also there was a commercial because the lady loved to go on car rides, and all roads led to the Cove Drive-In and their soft serve ice cream.
Flavor changes every week.
So that's what personalizes, and just as you laughed, if you can get people to relax and smile or laugh, then that's important. That's what they'll remember.
Right. Right. Well, and it pulls them out of the funk of, I mean, because when you lose someone, all you're thinking about is the loss.
Correct.
The immediate, this moment, you know, and so then it helps them remember in a different way. So, well, and the other thing I appreciate about your services is they're never very long.
No.
No.
20 minutes long.
Yeah. Boom.
It doesn't need to be any longer than that.
That's what I aim for.
Yeah.
Weddings too?
I aim for that. Weddings, you never know what's going to happen. So there's always a few surprises.
Yeah, I've been to 2 weddings. So Wade Twilliger, who's one of my friends, you know, here in LeGrand, he got married in the middle of the summer out here in Cove or Union, and it was like 105 degrees. And then one of my best friends got married, and we wore black tuxes, and it was like 110 degrees over on the west side. And those like Wade's was not horribly long; it was fairly long. But the one over there was so long, and I mean, it just gets miserable after a while. It's supposed to be fun, you know what I mean? But if you're talking about like 110 degrees and all black, like let's have a 7-minute wedding. Let's shotgun it out and get out of here.
I've never done a 7-minute wedding, no. But I've done interesting weddings. I've done Star Wars, and yes, and costume.
Did you dress up?
You're looking at Princess Layla right here. That's all I have to say. The costume weddings on Halloween.
Yeah.
That's fun. I was a pirate. Just different, whatever they want to do. Ones where they would brand a cowhide at the end with their own brand.
I've seen wood. I've seen people do wood at their wedding, but never
this was a cowhide.
Interesting.
Yeah, so just kind of one of everything. In fact, I'm writing a book at the moment. I didn't know if you knew that.
No.
Yes, it's called I Do and a Few Don'ts. And just for people in a small area, lots of books about Hollywood and New York and how to do a real fancy wedding. But just kind of what you do when and how you don't have to spend an awful lot of money to have a nice wedding.
Yeah.
No, you don't. Yeah.
And people do spend an enormous amount of money on weddings. Yeah.
And not to be a Debbie Downer, but 50% of you guys are getting divorced anyways. I hate to say it like that, but that's the number in America.
Kyle, don't do weddings. Just admit it. Don't do it.
Well, so kind of tell us a little bit about your life story, you know, where you were raised at and how you
Born
got to
and raised in this beautiful valley. I graduated from Eastern when the steps were good. That tells you how old I am.
What was it called back then? Eastern Oregon
EOC.
Normal School?
Yeah.
Eastern Oregon College.
I'm not that old.
I was giving you a hard time.
Come on, I knew it.
Eastern Oregon College.
EOC.
Yep.
And so then tell us about your professional life and what you did before.
Ooh, I began working at New Day Enterprise, and Kyle worked with me.
I worked for it. You were my boss.
Oh, well.
Well, you were my boss's boss's boss. You were the top dog.
It was a community mental health facility, and we worked mainly with folks with developmental disabilities, some with mental illness, some with on the dementia spectrum, and we were just kind of there for folks.
Yeah. It was right on the verge of Fairview closing.
Yes.
Like right during that era when they were putting all these people with developmental disabilities out into the community because they're getting ready to close this huge facility. And it was like a kind of a transition time, really, for developmental disability services.
And I got interested in that, hooked actually, when I was at EOC. We took a field trip to what is now the prison. That was all an institution.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And it was awful. You pulled up and you could see the shades, the curtains were dirty, they were broken. And you walked in and the people were kind of dirty and broken too. And I thought, ooh, I want to work with these folks.
Huh.
And here you go.
You learn a lot about yourself working with people with developmental disabilities.
Absolutely. And you have this tugging of your heart.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they are your folks.
Right.
Oh, dude.
That's what I called them, was my folks.
Fall in love with people, man. It's hard.
And you hope they fall in love with you as well.
Yeah.
And one of the best things that I was able to do, my husband's a good sport, every Thanksgiving we would go, he would be dressed as a turkey, and we would go to all the group homes. So the folks working on that day knew I was working on that day too. Christmas, he was Santa Claus. And we would go again to every house, say Merry Christmas, just let people know that we cared, and we were there. And that was important.
Wow. So I was thinking, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, was that filmed in Oregon or based on a story?
It was filmed right there in
Filmed in
Salem.
the Dalles, wasn't it?
Salem.
Oh, it's filmed in Salem.
Yeah, it was filmed right down at the what you were talking about. Right, so the state hospital was right
Fairview.
there on State Street. No, it was filmed at the state hospital.
was it?
Fairview's back in the industrial park in the back corner back there, like way out south, right? And then State Street runs right down the middle, and that's that building right there. That's
Been
the
there.
state hospitals where One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest was filmed.
Yeah. Well, and I've never worked with developmental disability people other than just my own private connections with some people like that. But you're right. If you're a compassionate person, your heart just goes out for them because you understand their situation. Yeah. And I see that in you. We've had a lot of conversations about, we just see that. And I see that in you when we talk about families that are going through grief because they've lost someone.
Yeah.
So, have you always been that way?
Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe.
You were born like that.
Were your mom and dad, where did you normally you get some guidance from?
My father was one of the most compassionate people in the universe. My mother was rather appalled at what I ended up doing. I think she was afraid because sometimes folks hit you and hurt you when they're upset,
Oh yeah.
and that's just kind of part of it.
Yeah.
And
So-
they don't mean it.
So when did you stop doing that career?
About 8 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Spent 33 years doing that.
Oh,
and
wow.
then retired and began Koza Consulting Services because I couldn't think of any other name for it.
So what is Koza Consulting? Tell me what that company
Well,
does.
I do funeral services for loved ones. I do weddings, and then I do guardianship reports for the Union County Circuit Court.
Okay.
And that's kind of the same thing. I go do a visit on the people involved in the guardianship, and that's usually prompted by an attorney, and there's a case, and then the report goes to the judge, and he decides yay or nay on the guardianship.
So then you are.
Is that for adults? That's for adults.
Adults are a couple of kids, but usually adults.
Yeah, okay.
And so then you are the professional objective assessment of a situation.
Court visitor
Yeah.
is the name, yes.
But your position is you're not either for the family. I mean,
Correct.
you're not either one side or the other. You're just trying to
Just looking
assess
at
the situation.
And
Yeah.
figure out if they're suitable to be a guardian for this
Right.
particular person.
There's a recommendation
Gotcha.
piece that I put on at the
Yeah.
very end.
Gotcha.
Cool. Do you enjoy that? Or is-
Sometimes,
It's a way of continuing to be busy and
it is,
Yeah.
it is. And most people, if you ask, would you like someone to take over many of your decisions, you'd say no.
Right,
You don't want
right,
them
right.
to. So that's the hard part,
yeah.
because when someone has dementia, they don't have it all the time.
Right.
It's something that kind of comes and goes.
Yeah.
And so it's difficult for people to recognize when they're no longer able to do the things they used to do.
Yeah.
Or if you have somebody that's high functioning, developmentally disabled, and they know their rights, that's where you get real. It's like, you know, I dealt with that a lot when I was working at another place on the west side. It's like you got to walk this fine line, because like, is it going to hurt you? You know what I mean? And when they're, you know, when they're very high functioning and they know that they can be their own guard, you know, which I don't blame them. I would be the exact same way. But that makes it really hard, because you have to like weigh the pros and cons and look at it like, whoa, you know, like how are we going to handle this?
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And, unaware of the dangers
Yeah.
that we may be aware of.
Yeah, very true. Yep.
Well, and that's super hard. You know, I mean, I had a family member not too long ago that was being taken advantage of, and it was to the point though to where he wasn't making good decisions. You know, very sharp. But so I guess the question I make is how do you help people deal with that? It's not that they are not capable or they're mentally deficient in some manner. They're being swayed in a negative way. How do you help people out of that jam a little bit?
Often that's enough to prompt a guardianship review.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like where?
Because if they're spending all their money
Yeah.
on something that gives them no benefit,
Yeah.
then that
You can almost prove that they need somebody to say
to make good decisions.
make a better
for them.
decision.
Well,
for
yeah,
them.
and in the case of my family member, I mean, it just took kind of threatening that to kind of snap them back to reality in some manner of like, oh, you're right. That's not this doesn't make sense. Yeah.
When you do it, is it mostly people that you already know?
No.
No.
If it's somebody I know real well, I will not take
You'll
the
check.
case.
Oh, that's what I wouldn't want to do that either. Like I would just be like, no, I'm not gonna get involved with
Nope.
this one. No,
You
'cause
just
it's
don't.
Yeah, you
Have
don't
you-
want to step on people's toes or hurt relationships.
Are you ever in that point where you're interfacing with the person themselves and you're trying to, you know, say, hey, look, this is what I see. This is the
I don't say that to the person.
right.
You might get punched.
But if it were your family member, you know, if it were somebody that you knew, I mean, are you the kind of person that you'd say, you know, you're showing some unhealthy signs here? Is that
I would.
Is that a
But
conversation?
that's me.
Right.
I
think you have
definitely
to.
would.
Yeah. Because that, you know, and it's funny because people think about addiction like being addicted to drugs or alcohol or whatever the case might be. But anything, addiction really is anything that you're changing your lifestyle for or you're carving out time to do abnormally, then that is something that you it's unhealthy for you in some manner.
And one of the worst addictions comes from loneliness.
Right.
So
right.
people think they're making a connection with someone when they are not, and they're truly paying
Right.
to try and get that connection.
Right. Well, and and it is so, I mean, it's prolific right now. The number of senior adults that maybe their spouse has passed or whatever, and you're right, they find themselves in that position of being lonely, and all of a sudden here's hey, this person is connected with me online, and, and so on and so forth. So, yeah.
And they're coming out to see me, and if I just send them this much money, they are going to fly here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is. There are so many scams. It's just funny. So so the other day, and I've gotten this several times before. I'll get a video. I'll get through our website. I'll get a thing saying, "Hey, we have a video project, and I have a budget of $10,000. Can you help me?" And da 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 da. Well, the first thing I say is, "Give me a call." Good. Here's my number. Give me a call. And then I get the second email. It's like, well, I've just had throat surgery and I can't really, and so I'm and so, and then immediately the red flags go off, because if you can't hear them or see them, or they don't want to be heard or seen, then it's like, wait a minute, so, and over the years, as I've had conversations with people that were kind of caught into that, it's like, well, have you had a video call with them? I mean, like, you really seen their face? You've talked with them? Have you shaken their hand in person? Anyhow, it's amazing. So
It is.
yeah,
It is. And the more disconnected we become, and we rely on our computers and doing things on our phone, the less we see real people.
yeah,
And that's part of it.
Very true.
yeah. Well, and I guess have there been other? I mean, over the years, almost 40 years now, right?
Right.
Of helping people in some way or another. How have you seen society change? How has, for good or bad? Let's start with good. How have things changed in a good way, do you think? That's a little
They've
tougher of a
changed
question.
for good.
Yeah.
I think recognition. We just saw the advertisement for Center for Human Development, and Chris talking about being aware of these different things. That's excellent.
Yeah.
Change for the worse, I absolutely think, are computers and phones
Yeah.
and such. Again, I've done funerals where people are playing on their phones the entire time.
Yeah.
I've heard of a few funeral places put a basket at the front and ask you to turn your phone off and leave it in there. I've heard
Wow.
of that, yeah.
And
Which isn't a
ours-
bad thing. I mean, really.
The gentleman at the front will say, just a gentle reminder to turn off your phone.
Yeah.
And some do and some don't.
Yeah. It's still, even though you make that announcement, it's still amazing the number of interruptions. A phone will ring or whatever it might be, So, and
I think one of the things that's changed for the better in your time too, and this isn't putting words in your mouth, this is my opinion, is education and awareness. Like, we've gotten way better as humans, educating ourselves and being more aware of people with especially in the developmental disability field. And we've really pushed to be inclusive, and like the people that came, right on that, I want to say like late 90s, mid 90s, early 2000s, are very responsible for that, because they led this push to get people out of these big facilities and into homes and into the community and working. That's something you should be really proud of, is the work opportunities at New Day for people with developmental disabilities, developing jobs and getting people out and in the community, and it doesn't go unnoticed.
Thank you. That was a joy, having people work, and they got paid for it, and that was
Absolutely.
exciting. I think one of the things that's changed for the better is it used to be our folks would walk along the street and people would call them names and yell out things at them. Nobody does that anymore.
No.
And that's because they are seen and they are in classrooms and they are around.
Yeah, they're not outcasts. They're not just thrown in a facility in Salem.
Exactly.
Dropped off on the people used to drop their kids off
Yes.
on the porch
Right.
at Fairview.
Right,
If
and
they
maybe with a shoebox
just left them
and
if
with
they were
their
developmentally
name
disabled.
and a tag with a safety pin saying their name and a little shoebox
Yeah.
with their things.
I've seen a picture of it. They did some bad things at Fairview
They
too.
did some
Pica
very bad
helmets,
things
pulling
at
out
Fairview.
teeth for people that bite it, sterilization. The list goes on and on and on. It wasn't good. And now having people with developmental disabilities in the community, we don't have any other choice. You know what I mean? People don't even have any choice now. They're part of. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like there's not that line that says we're different anymore. Like,
And you see them everywhere, so it's no big deal.
no, yeah,
And that's
which is
nice.
awesome. I mean, it really is.
So I'm interested in, your perception of the state of Oregon closing all of those facilities. And in the meantime, part of what you did was helping people have services, and now we're kind of at the other end of it where there's so much conversation about, and particularly in law enforcement. I think they're the ones that face the most difficult challenge because there are times they face violent acts, and part of that is because that person is mentally challenged in some manner or emotionally. Yeah. So, what's your thought on that? What's your thought on that swing? What does Oregon, do you think, needs to do? What's the solution for that?
I would like to see us require people go through services. If they need mental health services, then would be something that person would be taken away and given, rather than just let off or put in jail. Jail's the wrong place.
Right, yeah.
So I would like to see that mandated. I doubt if it ever will, just because Kyle is saying there's these rights, but there's also what's happening in society.
Yeah. So we've kind of almost gone too far the other direction.
Too far. I would like to see an institution for people who need it,
Right.
and who are a danger and who are biting and who are stabbing and
Well, we do have that. We have the state hospital, but it's
not
not
nearly
properly
big enough.
ran. Yeah, and it's
Not
it's
big
not
enough.
done right. But when we talk developmental disability and mental health, that's two completely different apples and oranges. You know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
sometimes you get a little bit of crossover, and that's only because at the time, when they shut Fairview, you had all this money for developmental disabilities, and you didn't have any money for mental health. So they kind of,
Gave it
if
to
somebody
us.
had really bad mental health issues, they kind of said, okay, well, we'll figure out a way to get you into developmental disability money.
Right.
And now there's kind of that gray area for especially the older generation of people.
Yes.
But when it comes to the whole mental health thing, yeah, we have to do a better job in Oregon. I don't know the answer. I mean, it's hard.
And many of the people who are suffering from mental health issues go to drugs.
Yeah, of course.
Meth will help me more than this prescription. I've
They
heard
don't
that
have
a
to.
lot of
They don't have to
times.
think about stuff if they're high.
Right.
So,
Well, yeah, and so then we see that. I mean, we talk with law enforcement a lot here, and yeah, there's a lot of conversation. The cops and law enforcement, they don't want to take somebody to jail. I mean, they understand that jail is not the right place for somebody with mental health issues. But what are their options right now? I mean, I'm talking about in LeGrand. If what are the options?
there
Yeah.
is no option but taking them to jail right now and then going through a process.
Yeah.
Usually a guardianship, or sometimes through that guardianship, that person will be sent to the state hospital, but it has to go through that process.
So what about somebody who has mental health issues? They're not violent, but they need help. I mean, what is the path? And I sincerely don't know this. Somebody locally who is has some. I mean, what is their path? I mean, they can't really be employed because of whatever's going on in their life. They're not able to do that, and so they're on some kind of assistance. How are they getting out? Is that what CHD? I mean,
Center for Human Development. Here's another commercial. CHD would be the place to go. And they have a variety of classes and options and treatments open.
So let's say somebody's in that situation, but they're not compliant. They don't want to,
Then they're not compliant.
They're what's wrong. They're what Cody talks about
right.
all the time.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So they're okay. No, and we see how it impacts law enforcement. Mm-hmm. So, what out of this gamut? What are some of the things that you love? What at the end of the day when it was like, oh, that was, and it can be. Weddings, funerals. I mean, what are the things that's like, man, I would do that every day if I could.
Funerals.
Really?
They are my favorite. Absolutely.
Huh. Because why?
Again, you get to be nice to people on the worst day of their lives. Who doesn't want to do that?
Yeah. Yeah,
and
it's a win.
Once
right.
people are done with the funeral, then their healing begins.
Right.
Yeah.
And I remind them of that.
So when you see somebody who is at a funeral and they're white-knuckling it, they're not grieving, in your mind, what are you thinking for them? I mean, how do you see that playing out in their life in the next year?
Sometimes I whisper in their ear.
Yeah.
And say, your mama was so proud of you, or something like that.
Yeah.
And then perhaps they will
break a little bit.
Their emotions will come out.
Yeah.
It just depends.
Yeah.
But that's the start.
Right.
And there's some stuff they have to do too, and that's a hard road.
Yeah. It's kind of funny because I've mentioned before that when I was 18, I lost my sister. She was 22 in a car accident. I'm the youngest of three, and my parents had a business at that time, and everybody else was incapacitated with grief. And so I was a senior in high school, and so I kind of ran that business for several months, and until it's when that happens, the grief of the parents they're the primary victims. They're the ones that are most of the time hurt the very most, And so, anyhow, about 9 months later, I grieved. I thought I grieved. I'm a fairly emotional person. 9 months later, I was watching a movie, and it was a boxing movie. I can't remember and at the end of the boxing, the boxer dies. And the little girl comes in, and it's his daughter, and he says, "Wake up, Dad! Wake up, Dad! Wake up!" And I'm telling you, the emotion. It just suddenly it just triggered all of that stuff that I'd been holding, and that was the first time I had a unreasonable emotional response to a particular event. There's probably a name for that, and that's when I realized, wow, I've just been holding all that in. I've been white knuckling it,
That movie was probably The Champ.
The Champ. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Man, that killed me. You see that?
A long time ago, yeah.
Yeah.
Came out the year I was born.
Oh my gosh.
No, yeah, 79. Yeah. Graduated from high school in 79. Yeah. Yeah. So.
And people react in different ways.
Yeah.
It's just, but that's what I like the best. And everyone at Loveland's, we're a team. We all feel the same way about helping people, and that's pretty nice.
Well, and that flows from the top. Kevin.
Exactly.
I have watched him in so many different situations, and I know you have too, extend incredible grace and mercy, to people. I mean, I've seen him interview. I can remember a very specific time when he was, passing the mic around for people to share and so on. And it was one of those cringe moments where somebody was sharing and it's like, oh man, I wish we could, we really should stop this, And he was just so grace-giving, so graceful. Yeah, it was amazing. But yeah, so when you see the person at the top doing that, then that just kind of flows.
That's what we do.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of what Jesus said. Like, yeah, if you say that I am Savior and Master and I wash feet, guess what? Yeah, you wash feet too. Yeah. So, well, cool. Well, thank you, Z.
You're so very welcome. Thanks
Yeah.
for talking with me.
Yeah, I'm
today.
trying to remember. I'm trying to think if there's any other. What is something that people would never guess that you are interested in, or a hobby that you have, or sometimes I'll
I don't know.
like my dear wife. Okay, nobody would ever know that she loves fancy sports cars. I mean, I'm telling you, she's like, yeah. So, I mean, is there anything like that that kind of sticks out as like, yeah, people?
I'm a sucker for growing tomatoes.
Really?
Yes,
I used to grow tomatoes.
Yeah.
I won't eat them, but I used to love growing them because I love making salsa.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Make our own homemade chili and marinara and
I used
salsa.
to make marinara.
Oh.
So, tomato queen.
How many
right here.
different kinds did you grow?
Oh, probably 3 or 4, but we have like 10 or 11 plants.
Yeah.
So we have tomatoes.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah. Wow. How are the tomatoes going right now?
We're ready to put them out. They're outgrowing our little indoor greenhouse.
Do you start them from seeds
I buy
yourself,
the
or do you buy
plants.
the
I'm
the
cheap.
starts?
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Well, hey, thank you
Yeah.
for being here.
Thank
and
you.
You are
great to
such
see
a
you, too.
delightful person, and
Thank you.
love talking with you and intersecting with you. So,
Fun.
Yep.
well, hey, you want to get us out of here?
Let's do it on this day, May Day,
May Day.
1840. Penny Black, the world's first adhesive postage stamp, is issued by the United Kingdom. 1851, on this day, the first public flushing toilets. They were called monkey closets. Unveiled by George Jennings as part of the Great Expedition at Hyde Park in London, and it cost 1 penny to use a flushing toilet back in the days. 1873, on this day, the first U.S. postal card is issued. 1920, on May 1st, legendary slugger Babe Ruth records his first home run for the New York Yankees in a 6-0 win over his former team, the Boston Red Sox. 1939, and I got a picture of this one for you. Batman first appears in Detective Comics number 27.
What year?
1939 on this day.
Wow.
It's a long time ago. 1991, Texas Ranger starter Nolan Ryan pitches his last and record 7th no-hitter
That's crazy.
as they beat Toronto 3-0. He was 44 years old at the time. 44.
But then-
You would not find, there's nobody in Major League Baseball even
Yeah.
close. I mean, the oldest guy is a Padre. His name is Yuri Gurriel, and he's 40.
Yeah.
And he's like old man Winter. And I mean,
Yeah.
Nolan Ryan was 4 years older than that and threw a no-hitter. That's insane.
Have you seen that documentary on him? There's one out there. It's just amazing.
No, I haven't. 2019, New York City officially names a street Sesame Street at the intersection of West 63rd and Broadway in honor of the show's 50th anniversary. The number one song in America on this day in 1985, Crazy For You by Madonna. And the quote of the day comes from Joe E. Lewis. You only live once, but if you work it right, once is enough. One more time. You only live once, but if you work it right, once is enough.
All
That's
right.
it. Thanks again, Z.
Yeah. Hey, thank you for being here. Yeah. Thank you guys, and we'll see you soon.